Good afternoon, welcome to part 3. Wasn't part 3 of the Grohman. Tested the Grohman, nearly fell backwards then. I wasn't initially going to do a part 3, but it probably ended up being 2 hours long, so I stretched it out to part 3. Part 2 was an hour long. So if you really want to know what this knife is capable of and the specs on it, then obviously try and watch the full hour, but if not, it doesn't really matter, because to be honest with you, if it was an hour I probably won't watch it either. But try and stay with it anyways if you want a real first impressions and what this knife's capable of doing. So yeah, this is part 3 of the Grohman number 4 survival knife, like D.H. Russell. This is the 5-inch carbon steel version, black micarta handles. So this is part 3 where I'm going to do some basic bushcraft tasks as you would, basic camp tasks like doing a bit of light chopping, because obviously this is a really small thin blade, and some light batoning as well. Again, this is only a short, it's only a thin blade, so you don't want to be doing any heavy duty batoning or chopping with this. But it's just to show that it's more than capable of doing some basic chopping, as long as you don't go for anything that's thicker than your wrist. Okay, so just going to go quickly. Hopefully it's not going to be an hour's long, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a part 4, a summary of this knife overall, what I think about it overall and the pros and cons of it. Okay, so let's just do some more basic bushcraft tasks with it as quickly as possible. I don't want to drag this on longer than I have to. Okay, so you have a dead standing, well, fallish, we'll say. It's not exactly standing, is it? As it will be that way. So do some basic delimbing. I think this is oak. So I'll do some delimbing, trying to get close as I can to the camera for you guys. Phone's not that great, so just do some delimbing. Try and do some chopping as well. So this is oak, so obviously you know it's hardwood. These probably about the same thickness as my finger, or at least index finger. So just thought I might show you close up on camera how thick these are. See what a little knife like this can do. Not expecting a lot, but you know, I've been wrong before. Okay, so you're delimbing and chopping, especially with a small blade. It's not really designed for chopping. Rather than going head on and chopping in one direction, you want to use it as a kind of mini golok, and you want to turn the blade to the side and chop this way rather than down. So always with a blade shaped like this and as small as this, you want to be chopping to the side. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so 3 swings on oak, clean cut actually, quite nice, with 5-inch lightweight 4mm blade. Carry on. So this is basic bushcraft task. This is what you'll be doing with your typical bushcraft knife of this size back at your camp. Okay, so again we'll do the same technique. Make sure your legs, your leading leg shall I say, is out of the way, and you'll be chopping here, because so that if your knife comes flying out your hands or you actually miss, it's not going to hit you or hit anybody else in the leg. You want to avoid chopping at all times in between your thighs of your legs. That's where all the fleshy bits and all your arteries are. Okay, so doing things like this preparation, make sure your legs are well out of the way, especially the inside of your thighs, and just chop this way just in case you do happen to miss. Say it again, so rather than head on. I'm going to tilt my knife this way, and I'm going to chop in this direction, just like you would Golok or machete. Okay. Okay. So the first swing, I didn't hit it head on, so it just caught the tip area. Okay. So, but again, I probably would have done that in two, maybe three swings. If I was using a heavier blade, then obviously probably just one swing, and it would have been straight off. But we'll carry on. Delimbing. Okay, so I'm going to take these off now. This is a long piece of wood, so what I'm going to do, I'm tucking the wood underneath my armpit, and the blade is still facing away from me. These are only thin, so rather than going downwards like this, we're going to go forward and use the full weight of that sweeping belly of the knife. Okay, so make sure there's nobody in front of you, obviously. We're just going to be a quick chop, quick flick of the wrist like that. Same again. Quick flick of the wrist. And we're done. This one here is a bit thicker. Okay, so let's see how thick it is. So that's my finger. So I'd say it's just a little bit thicker than my finger. See how she cuts right. And bear in mind, it's a hardwood, it is oak. It's quite flexible there, so just bear in mind where the flex is going to be, just in case it snaps at the bottom, especially if it's rotten. So I'm going to go over there and about here. We use a different technique this time, so rather than flicking wrist and doing that one, I'm going to try a technique that I usually use with small knives, and that's do the same flicking action as well, but I'm actually going to put my thumb on top of the knife like this. It's not comfortable, it takes some time to get used to, but we'll see. Sometimes it's not the best technique, but I really want to bury this. Okay. Okay, so chopped it off. Bearing in mind this is only 4mm thick, 5" long. It's only lightweight, so it can be done with a smaller knife. So now what we want to do when we're assessing or reviewing knives is we want to take a look, see if there's any damage. Scrape that bit of bark or sap off. Okay, so there's no chips, no rolls, no deformations of the edge as far as I can see. So that tells me straight away that it's good heat treatment on this blade despite its size. Good heat treat. And as far as just basic chopping is concerned, you know, I was expecting this knife to do quite well anyway, because it's a saber grind. Saber grind is basically designed for slashing and chopping motions, so yeah, it performed quite well. And just the delimbing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is got some I just don't know if this is going to be right. Let's have a look. I think it'll be alright. So I'm going to tilt the camera forward. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. Okay, now we'll just do some chopping. So again, a knife this size and this thickness, we don't really want to be chopping anything that's thicker than your wrist, because that's basically overkill for a knife this size and this thickness. So anything thicker than your wrist or thereabouts, you use an axe, hatchet, heavy duty blade, more bigger blade. Okay, so same again, legs out the way, so I'm not chopping here, I'm going to be chopping there. I'm not chopping for any reason, it's just a basic bushcraft task that you might be doing, especially if you haven't got a saw, or to be able to know that this knife can take it, especially the new repair on the handle, see if that can take it. So just get rid of that, get rid of any knots, and because of the shape of it, the weight is distributed probably more at the front than it is at the handle, and that's what you want in a chopping blade. So let's what she does on this ash. Yeah, it is a bit dry inside, so again I'm chopping at the side, turning it round. Yeah, so that's a bit dry, but it still did it. How dry? See how dry that is, probably there, but it still did it. So we'll go with something a bit harder. So we'll go with this oak that we had earlier. We'll chop that, so get rid of the bark. Yeah, this is a lot harder. Nice hard oak. Okay, so there's a knot there. So to chop it just above that knot there. Move my leg out of the way. Turn it round. Much harder than the other one. So I say this is solid oak. So if anything's going to test a blade, it's going to be solid oak. As you can see, even for a small knife, it took quite a few swings at that oak. So again, I'm going to assess the damage, if there's any damage from that, which I'm hoping there's not be, because the heat treat's quite good on this blade. It's just a little bit of bark on there. Yeah, absolutely perfect. No rolls, no chips, no edge deformation or anything. So again, it's a really good heat treat. Impressed with that. Good. Checking out the repair on the handle, which is the most worried about. Yeah, still seems solid enough. Yep, happy with that. No more cracks. It's pretty good. Right, so we come to the all-important batoning. Try and angle it down as much as I can for you. I mean, that's it. Okay. Did have some sticks actually. Batoning. Got me baton, but I don't know where me. Don't really want to baton through that because it's too dry, too rotten. Sorry about that, can't remember where I put my wood. Okay, so I haven't really got any decent sticks for batoning. But normally for a knife this thickness and this weight and this size, again, you don't want to be batoning through things that's thicker than your wrist. But saying that, it's still going to be a hard test for the knife, because this, again, I'm using solid oak. It has got a knot there, and same as this one. Whether or not it's going to go through the knot or deviate around it, we don't know. So let's see how it goes. Now, this is only 4mm thick, so it's not going to be the best batoning in the world. If you're going to be using a knife for batoning, it's going to be built for it, so it's definitely going to be thicker than 4mm, so round about probably 6mm or higher for batoning, so that it can really use the thickness of the blade to its advantage to split wood, just like you would a splitting axe. So the thicker the knife, generally the more it's going to be successful in batoning and split. Because of the thickness, it's going to split that wood straight down. But this is only 4mm thick, so this is going to be quite a workout for this. Okay, so again, when you're batoning, try to find out the best way of doing it if using a knife like this. So rather than going against the grain, try and do it with the grain, so it's got more chance of splitting. Normally, if I had my best survival knife, which is a hell of a lot more heavy duty than this, I won't be bothered, I just baton straight through it. But with a knife like this, as thin as this, you've really got to think about what you're doing and how you're going to be splitting it. So I'm going to go, the lines are going around this way, so I'm going to use them lines, the grain, to my advantage. Got my baton here, and what I'm going to do, put it more or less in the middle, strike the spine, then okay, so that split the hard oak successfully, and went through that little knot. Quite happy with that. Okay, the other piece, this might be a little bit harder because it's got a big knot in that one, and it's slightly thicker as well, but not thicker than my wrist. So let's see how it copes. I'm hoping the scales stay on, the repair and the scales is going to stay on. So again, take advantage of the grain where the grain is going, or take advantage of any cracks that's already there in the wood, so that it'll split a hell of a lot more easier. So put it roughly in the center of the blade, tap the spine to seat the knife like this. Once it's seated, and always hold the knife steady, and that's a successful baton straight through that knot. Awesome. Again, keep moving my camera, we'll assess the damage if there is any. So first of all, I'm going to look at this handle where that repair was done. Doesn't appear to be any movement there, or any new cracks appearing, or the gap widening. Still the same, so that's good. Look at the spine, no chips or dints in the spine. And then the most important thing is the edge, just getting rid of that bark there. Sometimes when you've got bark or sap on your blade, it looks like your blade's chipped, and that's when you start to be worried. Then you scrape it with your nail and realise it's just a bit of bark or wood or sap, which I'm seeing here. So I'm just going to scrape that with my nail. Yeah. Okay, so no bends, no chips. And no deformations whatsoever. So again, a really impressive heat treat, really good. So we've batoned through some solid oak, hardwood, we've delimbed with it, we've chopped with it, We've sliced with it in different ways and did all them tests, so it passed all them tests with no damage to the blade or the handle. All in all, it's a solid blade. So I was going to do a part 4, but this is only 20 minutes. I was going to do a quick video, but so my thoughts. Bring the camera over here. Right, really need to tidy up before I go. Hopefully you can see me there. Okay, so the thoughts, pros and cons. So considering when it first come and the damage, or should I say lack of quality control, which I was really not impressed by. One thing I do want to mention, which somebody mentioned on one of the bushcraft groups, is that they said, "Are you sure it's not a B stock knife?" Because Grohman knives do like it's B stock, which is basically not pre-owned knives, but knives that have got some faults to it. So they'll knock it half price or 50% off. So you can get a knife like this for half price because there might be some sort of problem with it. There might be an uneven grind or something like that, and a lot of manufacturers actually do that. So you can get a knife like this for and not pay full price for it. But I don't like doing that. I'm not really into buying a knife and then having to sort it out myself. I don't mind the odd jobs like changing the grind or making it better, but any big jobs then I'll probably give it a miss really. But anyway, so is this a B stock knife? Is that why I had the gap in the scales when I first got it and the uneven grind? Well, you would have thought so, but after doing some research and going onto the Grohman website, their faulty knives, they actually stamp on the blade, usually with an S, which basically means that it's got some sort of fault to it, like an uneven grind or whatever kind of fault it is, maybe a pin or maybe a problem with the scales. But this hasn't got any such mark on the blade, on the handle, or anything like that. All we've got is Grohman DH Russell 4 carbon, so there's no S carved on it to suggest that it's got any faults with it or anything like that. So the answer to that question then, not really, it can't be a fault. I just think it's just one of them things, one of them knives that just went through the net and just so happens to land on my lap. But all things considered, after giving it the benefit of the doubt with all the faults I had at the beginning, do I still recommend this knife? Do I still like it? So what do I think about the pros and cons? So we'll start with the pros. I love the shape of this blade. Absolutely love the shape of it. It performs really, really well as a slicer because of that belly, that sweeping belly, and the fact you can choke up really, really close and then put your thumb there where the jimping is there to do even more delicate work. and because of the shape of it, it comes into its own for doing different tasks, bushcraft tasks, which is really quite amazing for the shape. It's a really well designed knife. Really impressed with that overall shape in slicing, that slight recurve shape and that saber grind that aids in light chopping and delimbing and things like that. It really aids in that, and the overall feel to it when you, like say, when you choke it up and do delicate works like your notching and your and things like that. So that's a big pro in my book. Another pro is you've got your 90-degree spine, which starts from your jimping, just after the jimping, all the way up here before the reverse of the tip, and especially up here is really sharp. So yeah, it's got 90-degree spine, so no problem throwing sparks with a ferro rod, no doubt, and no problem at shaving bark off either. So that's another pro it's got for it. Another pro is obviously you've got hole for lanyard. So if you do have to do any light chopping, obviously you can put your lanyard through on your wrist, and then prevents the knife from flying out your hands and hitting your best mate. So that's another pro. It's extremely well made, very robust. The heat treat is absolutely spot on. The steel is really good. I'll probably have to leave a link in the description what carbon steel this is, because it doesn't actually say, it just says carbon on there. So yeah, really well made, really good heat treatment. And yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing. I think that's all I've got to say about the pros. So yeah, but unfortunately, like a lot of my reviews, there is some cons. So obviously I'm not going to go into what I've already gone into in part one about what was wrong with the knife, the faults that it had, because if you want to know, obviously watch part one. But I'm talking about the knife in general now, not with the faults that it had at the beginning. So the cons of this knife is the ergonomics of the handle. The handle scales could have done with rounding off a lot more at the corners, because it does leave hot spots if you're going to be using your knife like this. It's strong overhand grip, so you can do some power cuts. It really does dig into your hand. I think if that's addressed, then it'll be absolutely fine. So that's one thing I'm going to be doing, is rounding these sharp corners off of the handle. The Makata handle is very well done. However, another con is it's not very grippy. For me, it's too smooth. If your hands are wet, or your hands are sweating, considering this is Makata, I do feel like without the lanyard, I think it will end up probably flying out your hand or slipping. It is quite slippy, Makata scales. So that's another con really with this knife. Another con is the jimping on the spine, as I said before. The jimping on the spine is too aggressive for somebody like me who doesn't wear gloves. But it really does come into its own when you're choking up on the blade and doing your delicate cuts like your notching. So I suppose that's a hit and miss. That's really a pro and a con, if you want. Con because obviously it's too sharp on the jimping, and a pro because it really does aid stop your thumb from slipping when you're doing them delicate cuts. as far as cons go, I think that's probably about it for the actual knife. So we'll go on to the thing I hate the most, the sheath. Just put this down. I'll show you the sheath again. Okay. So the ultimate con of this knife is got to be the sheath. It's terrible. Don't like it at all. Doesn't cover the knife very well at all. The handle sticks all the way up here, and the belt loop could have done with a bit more reinforcement down here, like this flappy bit of leather here. So obviously that just folds in and goes through that gap there, and they've widened this bit of the leather here to stop it from going back through the hole again. But in time that will definitely wear out. The hole will probably get bigger as the leather stretches as well, and that's eventually going to make the leather loop come out of the gap. So they could have really put either a rivet in there or stitch it in there, and I think for the price of it you pay for a knife, I think they could have designed a sheath a lot better than this. And the biggest con for this sheath is what I explained previously on the previous video, is that retention strap there. It's pointless, absolutely pointless. Why would you put a retention strap there in the same side where you draw the knife in and out, so that your blade slices into that retention strap there? And I've seen it on a lot of knives, and it didn't need to be there at all. I prefer the old sheath, the old Grohman sheath, where it's a full cover sheath, which is what's called the army style, Canadian army style sheath, which is a full cover. Just a flap that goes all the way around the handle and then snaps in here, and that is a lot better. But this sheath, no good at all, and I won't be using it. I'll probably get somebody to make me another one, maybe an army version, or buy one that's better than this, that'll fit that knife. So as far as the sheath concerned, it's not very good at all, especially for the price you pay for the blade. So yeah, it's a bit, hate to say it, but at Grohman, but it's a bit amateurish, the sheath. But you know, I suppose the blade is a lot better than what the sheath is. So sometimes you have to make sacrifices. But yeah, not impressed with that sheath at all. And that's probably about it. I've demonstrated its abilities for a knife that size, the pros and cons, chopping, batoning, slicing. So what it boils down to, would I recommend this knife? Would I spend my money on buying another one? I would say yes. If it didn't have the problems that it had at the start, then yes, I would highly recommend buying this knife. It is superb for bushcrafters, absolutely superb. And if you can get one that's not a lemon like mine was when I first got it, you know, it'd be a knife that will serve you very well for a very long time. One that you can pass down to your kids or something if they're interested, which is what they used to do back in the day in the Canadian Armed Forces. As the history goes, sometimes these knives got passed on down to their siblings. Yeah. Basically, you have to buy one of these knives and just feel it yourself how good that shape is. It's really outstanding, that shape. The way it curves aids itself in slicing. 90-degree spine, ergonomics, fantastic. if it wasn't for that handle, that sharp corners, which can be addressed, it would be perfect, absolute perfect bushcraft knife. So once I've finished the handle, I'll probably do another video, probably update and show you. But yeah, I do recommend this knife. I think it is amazing for what it can do, or for what it is, and I can see why people like them, and why the Canadian Army used the knife, well, the smaller version to this, for a very long time. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Very impressive. So yeah, I do recommend it. So thumbs up. And you know, to be honest, I didn't think I was going to like it, um, but yeah, I really do like it, especially when you've been using it for a long time, and learn the design of it and the way it works. So yeah, do highly recommend it. So check Grohman knives out at I don't know if I keep getting the shop name wrong. It's Colonial. I think it's Colonial Outdoors. But last time I checked, they didn't have the carbon steel in stock. So whether or not the stainless steel is going to perform as good as this, I'm not too sure. Not really into stainless steel blades, if I'm honest. That's why I wanted the carbon one. But yeah, so that's my kind of short-term review, quick update review on the D.H. Russell Grohman No. 4 survival knife in carbon steel and black micarta scales. And we'll leave it there. Sorry for the long video before, if you watched. I think it was part 2. So thanks for watching if you managed to keep up this far, and see you in the next video. Bye for now, guys.